Hello and welcome back to the American Experience. This is our New Year's special. I'm going to talk about how the show is going to go on, if there's going to be any major changes, which there are going to be, uh, what the topics coming up are going to be, how I'm going to make videos more explicitly pointed towards topics. For example, talks about demographics, talks about nationalism, talks about all of that, economics, stuff like that. And I'll do it with guests too to make it more interesting. Because a lot of my friends, if I'm going to be honest, are very smart and intelligent people, and they have really good takes. So I'm going to do that. We're even going to hit some topics that a lot of people don't hit. I have some friends that have interesting ideas when it comes to society, technology, stuff like that. I think inviting them on is going to be interesting. I have friend of mine who's writing a paper right now about the effects of technology, the technology state in this world. And it's just interesting what he talks about. And that's why I think personally I'm going to bring him on so we can talk about that, because I think it's a very interesting angle of the way he looks at technology. I mean, that's a bit of a side rant there. So we're going to hit the monologue part right now. But before we do that, let me remind you to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, ring the notification bell, and of course, leave a comment in the comment section below. As usual, I love reading your feedback, especially if it's constructive criticism or if it's just a fun comment. I know on my Charlie Kirk video, there was one of my buddies literally was just like, "Hey man, how's it going?" And I was like, "Oh, great, like that's cool." I just love stuff like that. I really like it when people reach out to me and it's like, "Oh, I know you. Yeah, it's cool you're watching the show." Anyways, topic for the monologue today. What is going to happen to the show this year? And are there going to be any major changes? Any big focus on certain topics of interest? Yeah, there are going to be. There's going to be a big shift in focus, okay? And I should make this clear. This entire year has actually been a shift in focus as I have developed ideologically from one type of ideological person to someone else. And a lot of that has to do with the events that have occurred, the books I have read, the people I've started listening to, and my friends. My friends, a lot of them listen to the same stuff, a lot of them read the same stuff. And I don't mean to say that like I live in an echo chamber, because I don't. I actually talk with a lot of people from different perspectives. But what I do mean to say that as my views have changed since this podcast started. For example, when the podcast started, I was posting on Spotify. I don't do that anymore. Why? Because I don't get enough views. That's just quite frankly, Spotify is a horrible platform to start a podcast on, unless if you're gonna have an audience that like want to listen, that like you tell them and they stay every year, then it's a good place. Or if you're already famous, if you're a Tucker, if you're a Joe Rogan, if you're a Candace Owens, it makes sense then to have a podcast on Spotify. But YouTube is good for people that are not like are not normal, like that are not popular yet, you know? So it's great. And honestly, I've already been getting way better views on YouTube. Some of my Spotify videos, 1, 2 views, that's it. Now on YouTube, I'm getting 8, 4, 6, and some of them occur over time, and I'm okay with that because really my mission isn't to get as many views as possible in the span of in a short span of time. My goal is to really like give my perspective on things and teach people the truth. That's my goal, and that has always been my goal of the show. The goal is not to get crazy famous. If I had 1 or 2K subs, I'd be happy. If I have 20 subs, I'm happy. Right now I have 9 subscribers. I'm happy. I'm a happy little guy doing my thing. And a lot of that is just because, like, I just don't. I just feel like I don't have the need to have to like go worldwide. If I do, I'll be happy. But it's not like anything. And of course, it's just a lot of stress on me if I did go very famous, because then your life is in the spotlight and it kind of sucks and yada 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 yada. Anyways, that's enough of me ranting. But yeah, so when the show started, I did it on Spotify, and I originally just started kind of doing what I'm doing right now, monologues, and then because I wasn't getting enough views on Spotify, my producer said, "Well, how about you try not monologuing? How about you interview people?" I interview people, I got more views, but then they went down again. And then I was like, I think the platform is the issue. And so I decided I'm going to go to YouTube. And it's worked now. YouTube's way better of a program, like I said before, way better. Way more likes, way more views, way more everything. So I really like that. Some big changes. Short form content. One of my buddies, Dylan, who was in the last podcast episode, he's interested in helping me get some more short form content out, as in making more YouTube shorts of the show, because those get a lot of views. And then it gets people to the big show so they can listen to the bigger picture, what I'm really saying out here, So maybe you'll post some clips where I'm joking and having a fun time with my friends. Maybe it's just a really good rant I had that's 3 minutes long. Something like that. He's going to post it, which I'm really thankful that Dylan will do that. Or at least he said he will. If he doesn't do it, I'll just do it myself then. But he's a good buddy of mine, so I don't doubt that he's being legit. In terms of my radio series, I began my emergency communication series back in October. I posted one video on introduction, and it's gotten 4 views so far, which is okay. I've kind of realized I'm going to switch tactics with that. And a lot has to do with how I'm going to change the show overall. But the big change I'm going to do. But the radio communications is going to be shifted to a newer topic. It's still going to be radio communications, but it's going to be directed to a different audience. So if I'm going to be talking about stuff that might not be relevant to you, that's okay. I'm still going to teach relevant stuff on radio. But I'm going to try to make it more relevant to a certain audience so I can get them on top of that. Because at the end of the day, the audience I'm aiming for, which is young Gen Z people, men, I'm going to say men more, they're not as interested in it. And I think it's a very important aspect that they're going to have to learn about. Because if something goes bad, they need to learn how to communicate without using a cell phone, without using the internet, without using Wi-Fi. So, that's the change with the radio communications. But finally, the big change is this. So, when I started the channel, I was your average MAGA Republican. I actually was a fan of, believe it or not, Vivek Ramaswamy, which I know a lot of people in my age cohort right now do not like. But I was a big fan. Read his book, Truths, The Future of America First. It's when I started actually reading books on politics and when I kind of just stopped listening, and when I stopped just listening. For years, I just listened to Mark Levin, Ben Shapiro, and just heard their say on politics, and I thought I knew everything. But then I started reading books, and I just started reading average conservative books, Barry Goldwater, Ben Shapiro books, and then Vivek Ramaswamy, and then I started reading other books. I read some Ron Paul, I read some books about anarcho-capitalism, and now I've really gone to Pat Buchanan, where I think his beliefs are very important to the continuation of America. I think Patrick J. Buchanan's books are awesome, and I think what he writes about is very important. So, Pat Buchanan, the dude ran in 1992, 1996 to be a Republican candidate for the elections those years. He did not win. He also ran in 2000 on the reform ticket, was an aide to Reagan, Nixon, all those people. Very well known. And I just started reading his books. I read Death of the West first. Then I just finished Suicide of a Superpower, which I got for Christmas. And I love his books, and I think his take on America is very important. And of course, with me changing what I believe just from reading books, it also changes who I listen to. So, I listen to Alex Jones, listen to Nick Fuentes, I listen to Tucker Carlson. I don't agree with everyone on everything. Obviously, I have my disagreements. But they seem to be carrying on Pat Buchanan's message the most, particularly Nick Fuentes. And he himself says he read a lot of Pat Buchanan, and that's what really got him politically motivated and what changed his mind on what a conservative is. And that's kind of where the show's going, because I've read Pat Buchanan. I've become red-pilled, as some people might say. And that's because the show is going to reflect a more of an America First attitude. Like I said before, we're America First on the show. I end the show with America First. And we're going to continue doing that. Okay. And we're also going to talk more about more topics, how to put America first, demographically, religiously, economically, politically, financially, in all those ways. We're going to talk about how to put America first. We're going to hit hard on how the demographic change in America is not a good thing, why the religious change in America is not a good thing either, why politically we need to get money out of politics. To a certain degree, I don't think we should ban people from donating money, but we should realize that donors and political action committees are a serious issue in this country and are seriously screwing us up big time. We need to talk about the moral decay in this country on the Federal Reserve. I'm going to get into that. We're going to talk about foreign wars. We're going to talk about immigration. We're going to talk about tariffs, protectionism. What does an America First economic plan look like? We're going to talk about all the normal right wing stuff, and but really we're going to hit hard on demographics, also the national debt, immigration, and protectionism and foreign wars. We're going to hit on those top 5 things. We're going to hit demographic change, protectionism, the Federal Reserve, foreign wars, and America's moral decay and religious decay. How we're starting to not become a Christian country and why that's an issue. Going to hit all those issues coming up, episode by episode. Okay, we're going to hit all those issues and why it's important. And along with that, I'm going to say this. This show is going to become more advertently America First. I am going to consider myself a part of the America First part of YouTubers. I know there's already a few YouTubers, 2 big ones out there. Actually, there's a few. Tom Fo, Basic Logic, and Jimmy Talks. 3 other YouTube channels. Great guys. They're also all America First. Way bigger channels than me. Recommend you check them out. And I actually like them a lot. And obviously, I'm going to say they swear a bit, okay? I'm not going to... Don't swear, guys, okay? And I don't really swear on this channel. I'm just not a fan of it. It just, makes you look a bit less unprofessional and that sort of thing. I'm not a fan of that sort of thing, and it just makes you look unprofessional. Basic Logic doesn't swear, though. Anyways, so this is going to become an America First YouTube channel. Disagree with that if you will. I don't care. But and the reason why is also because America First is becoming mainstream. When this year began, the leader of the America First movement, or the Groyper movement, I was nicknamed, was Nick Fuentes. Can't deny that. And he was banned on basically everything. But over this year, he's been able to get on YouTube. He's been on other people's channels on YouTube. He's been able to actually have videos on there where he's interviewed. There's just tons of YouTube channels out there that are now covering content very similar to his. His memes, his edits, everything, everywhere, all over Instagram, TikTok, YouTube now, and that sort of thing. He's really getting that firepower, and especially now that Charlie Kirk died, God bless his soul. But now that he's died, he's really become kind of the leader of young conservative men. And obviously, this is 2026. 2025 is when Nick broke into the mainstream. 2026 is when the America First movement is going to become very, very mainstream. And I'm a part of that movement. Obviously, I don't agree with everything in the movement, but I'm a part of it. And I hope other people are too. Okay? That's all I'm going to say about that. As well, the radio communications part that I talked about, that's going to change too. So originally, when I made the communications, I just made it to be a prepper emergency communications video. Because I saw a lot of misinformation online, and I mean real misinformation, about radio from preppers. And they probably just sell the radios. They did not know how to operate them very well. And I don't even know if they had a ham license. And they don't seem to, and even if they do, they're very clickbaity, they're very materialistic, they don't explain the basics of radio communications with a lot of people. So that's why I started. I was like, we're going to start with emergency communications, we're going to talk about it, and I'm still going to continue that to some degree, but we're really going to hit hard on why the America First movement needs to get into radio communications to evade censorship if that starts coming around, because it will. It will. Remember when Trump got really popular and then everyone started banning MAGA and everyone started banning them off of Twitter? That's what's going to happen to the America First movement. We're going to get censored. That's just a fact. People just can't take our viewpoints because they don't like them. And it's dangerous to the establishment that we have right now. And so they're going to try to censor us. That's just a fact. We're too big of a movement. They're going to try to censor us. Second of all, how to use it in emergency times, because we're heading towards scary times and we need to be prepared for those. There's often that joke about, someone says, "Oh, I believe aliens exist and rule the world," and then the next panel in the joke is where the person like freaks out and they're like, "Wait, I believe aliens exist and they control the world." Like, that's what I'm saying. If we really believe that the wars that are happening maybe on purpose, or there's an intent behind it, and that intent isn't good and could lead us to some very dark areas, we need to be prepared to defend ourselves from those dark areas. We need to be prepared to not. We need to be prepared for those dark times. So that's my little spiel on radio communications. I'm going to center more on how to. We're going to talk more about radio communication, specifically worldwide, like CB, shortwave, long distance ham radio. We're going to talk all about that. We're going to do some radio reviews, stuff like that. So I hope you guys stay tuned for that. Other than that, our monologue part is over. That's what's going to happen with the show. So I'm going to bring my guests on to this program. Welcome back to the show, guys.